Yo, welcome back to another episode of Camerumours, the series where I spread the latest industry rumours. Let's go. Let's kick things off with the Canon EOS R5 overheating rumours. Now, we all know that the Canon EOS R5 overheats. It's been known since launch, everyone's talking about it, that's old news. But the latest is that it's actually not overheating, and it's actually a software limitation disguised as overheating. Now, this is a hot take, no pun intended, because we never thought that this could be possible in a camera like this. Why would Canon do that? Why would Canon cripple the abilities of this insane spec'd camera when they could fly high above the competition? Now, if the Canon R5 can shoot 8K and not overheat, or rather is actually usable at 8K, it probably puts a lot of people more towards the R5 than it does pushing people towards something like a C300. Or is it that due to COVID-19, they didn't actually get enough real world tests in because of the way that it crippled the testing environments that people could go to? Now, that personally is my opinion. I don't think Canon would be stupid enough to quite obviously cripple a camera so it doesn't compete with their own. Although I do understand the business reason behind that, I genuinely think it's purely a lack of testing, and they put that in there as a rather extreme protection, and now they're going to slowly roll it back as more people start using it and figuring out what is actually safe. Okay, so before I move on, I just want to say, I know most of you that watch these videos aren't subscribed, so if you do like this content and you want to keep on hearing these weekly updates, please hit the subscribe button and like the bell to be up to date whenever I release one. But for now, let's get back to the rumours. Okay, the M50, my favourite camera, there's one up there, is apparently due to get an upgrade soon. It appears we're going to get a 32 megapixel sensor on this APS-C body, which is 8 more megapixels than the 24.1 that camera currently has. It looks like we're getting 1080p 120 frames, which is amazing for content creators everywhere. And finally, 4K full frame up to 60p. Now, these are rumoured specs. It's not clear whether or not this is for the M50 Mark II, or whether or not it's going to be something like an M1, like a premium M series camera that Canon could be releasing. My guess is they're probably not going to make a new M series body because I don't think it's worth it, not with the M series glass. They'd be better off redoing a M50, give it an RF mount, in my opinion. That would be ace. Although then that would probably conflict with like the R6, because I think I'd rather have an APS-C M50 that shoots full frame 4K and 1080 120 than I would have a R6 that's 20 megapixels. So who knows what's actually going to happen there. Okay, so it looks like the Panasonic S5 is going to be released on the 2nd of September. I believe the launch is at around 3 p.m. British summertime. This budget full frame camera is going to sport a 24 megapixel sensor, as well as being able to record in up to 4K up to 30 frames per second. Now, again, these are rumors, things could change, and although this is a specs leaked in full, we basically had that with the R5, and then we got a much higher megapixel sensor than what was rumored. Either way, I think 4K 30 isn't really enough, but I understand this is a budget camera. 1080p up to 60, they might have been able to push 120 if they wanted to, so I'm not 100% sure why they really did that. I would rather have had 1080p 120 and 4K 30 than what they've done and pay a little bit extra. That's just me as a creator, but I don't know what their business model is. I think they missed out there. I don't think many people will buy that camera unless they're wanting to get into that side of things, because they'll have a lot of competition now from Sony and from Canon in the mirrorless realm with bodies like that, and especially, as I said, with the M50 Mark II coming soon as well. Okay, Sony have copied Canon. Copied, I use that term loosely, only because Canon did it first. They didn't really copy. I'm sure somebody else did it before Canon, but we don't know about it. They have copied Canon with a piece of software that lets you use your Sony camera, your mirrorless camera, your A-series camera or whatever, as a webcam. Now, I use the EOS utility for my M50 to stream. Setup is kind of almost there behind me, and I think that's great. EOS webcam utility works really well. If Sony's does just as well, I can't test it. I don't have a Sony camera. Then Sony have done a great thing there, because for content creators, vloggers, streamers that might have something like that, this is going to replace the need for a capture card, which is amazing because those things aren't cheap. They're just another thing that either takes up a USB port or they will take up a PCI card. So having not to use one of those is actually really handy. Finally then, I'm going to touch on the Canon RF Cinema camera chatter that's been kind of spreading around the internet. There's not really much here that's solid, but I'm going to give my take based on what I've seen. I personally think this camera will be a cube. I think this is going to take on the form factor of something like the Z-Cam or the Red Komodo, because that is generally a great form factor for a camera. I think the fact that it is aimed at RF mounts is going to mean that it's not going to be changeable. You're not going to be able to change it to an EF mount. I also think it's going to have IBIS. I think it's probably still going to have built-in ND filters. My full guess is that it's going to use the exact same sensor as the R5. It's going to be like the R5 in cinema form. So it's going to use the same sensor as the R5, except it's either going to be full 8K and have heating problems, or it's going to be 6K downsampled from an 8K sensor and not have heating problems. Now, there are two, so I'm talking about the better one. And I do think that the lower price one will basically be the same as the R6. So in the same way that I think this most expensive one's going to be like an R5 cinema camera, I think that you're going to have an R6 cinema camera just the same. I think it's going to have a full frame sensor rather than a Super 35. And my only reason for guessing that is because it's an RF mount and I think it's going to use the same full frame sensor. So for me, it would make sense that it would have that if it has IBIS. It's a lot less engineering behind the scenes for Canon. So that's kind of where I'm roughly guessing this is gonna go. Do you think that kind of camera would be desirable? Personally, that's something I would go for. I've been following the Red Komodo for a bit. I absolutely love the place that's headed to. I love my Pocket 4K. I would love a C300, but if I could get something that was as small and modular as something like a Komodo or a Z-Cam, that would be ace. I personally think the red one is better purely because of like it's red, not the color, but the brand. Let me know your thoughts. Leave them down in the comments below. I'm interested to hear what you think. But that is it for this video. If you did enjoy it and you want to hear more of this, don't forget to like the video, get subscribed, like the bell to stay up to date for whenever I release a new video. But until the next one, that is it. See ya.